The rain poured relentlessly, turning the streets into shimmering rivers and blurring the world around Emma Walker as she stepped into the small, nearly empty grocery store on the edge of her quiet suburban neighborhood. She was tired after a long day, the kind of exhaustion that settled deep in your bones, but something about the evening felt different, unfolding slowly, quietly, like a gentle breath in the chaos. As she stood in line, her thoughts drifting to the homework waiting at home and her little brother Noah's smile, her eyes caught sight of an elderly man just ahead of her. He wore a navy peacoat several sizes too big, soaked from the rain, his hands trembling as he fumbled with a worn wallet. His face was a map of years, lined with stories Emma would never know, but in that moment she saw only vulnerability, a fragile dignity quietly eroded by circumstance. The man's fingers searched desperately for a $20 bill that wasn't there, his voice barely a whisper as he apologized to the cashier. "I'm so sorry. I thought I had enough." The few items in his basket were simple: bread, milk, a can of soup, and a small birthday cake, the latter seeming almost like a fragile hope wrapped in plastic. Around them, the line began to grow impatient, but Emma felt a stillness inside her, a gentle pull urging her forward. Without hesitation, she stepped up, swiped her card, and met his eyes with a soft smile that spoke of kindness and quiet courage. "It's okay, really," she said softly. The man looked at her, eyes shimmering with a mixture of disbelief and gratitude, his lips trembling as he tried to form words that wouldn't come. Instead, he placed a trembling hand over hers for a brief moment, a silent thank you heavier than any words, and then shuffled out into the rain, disappearing like a ghost into the night. Emma stood there for a moment, her heart pounding with an unexpected warmth. She barely registered the stares or the whispers around her. In that small act, the world had shifted, if only slightly, as if she had reached out and touched something sacred. She didn't expect anything to come of it. Helping that man felt like the right thing to do, a spark of humanity in a cold and rushing world. Later, when she told her mother about it, her mom smiled gently and said, "Kindness always comes back around." Emma nodded, believing her, but the truth of those words was something she could never have imagined in that moment. The rain continued to fall, washing the streets clean, but inside Emma's heart, something new had begun to stir, an invisible thread weaving her fate into something much bigger than herself. Hours had passed since Emma's quiet act of kindness, and the world outside had shifted from the soft melancholy of rain to the heavy cloak of dusk. The sky darkened slowly, swallowing the last traces of daylight, and a chill settled in the air, wrapping itself around the modest little house where Emma lived with her family. She had just settled in after a long day. Homework spread across the kitchen table, the hum of the evening filling the rooms, and the comforting presence of her parents and little brother Noah, whose gentle laughter was a balm to her tired soul. Then, from the quiet street, an eerie silence broke the calm. 3 black SUVs glided slowly down the lane, their engines purring softly but with an ominous presence. The windows were tinted so dark that no eyes could be seen within, and the cars stopped deliberately in front of Emma's home. The sudden arrival sent a ripple of unease through the neighborhood and, more deeply, through Emma's chest. Her heart began to pound with a strange mix of fear and curiosity, a fluttering uncertainty that tightened with every second. What could this mean? Why here? Why now? Emma stood on the front porch, her breath catching as the lead vehicle's door opened with a smooth, deliberate motion. A man stepped out, his posture rigid, dressed in a sharp suit that contrasted sharply with the warm, worn surroundings of Emma's home. He moved with a confidence that seemed to belong to another world, one filled with secrets and shadows. The other 2 men followed silently, their presence quiet but heavy, like ghosts summoned for a purpose that Emma couldn't yet understand. Her father quickly appeared at her side, protective and steady, instinctively placing himself between Emma and the strangers. The calm in his voice betrayed the tension beneath as he asked, "Can I help you?" The man in front produced a badge, shining briefly in the dim porch light. "Agent Rhodes," he said, his tone formal but not unkind. "We need to speak with Emma Walker." Emma's heart plummeted, the name familiar but dangerous in its weight. "About what?" her father demanded, eyes narrowing. It concerns someone she encountered earlier today. A matter of national importance. Confusion, fear, and disbelief swirled in Emma's mind as she tried to grasp the reality of what was unfolding. The old man at the grocery store, the frail, quiet figure she had helped, was not just a lonely stranger but something much more. Agent Rhodes explained patiently that the man was Thomas Calloway, a former intelligence operative believed dead for years, a ghost who had dismantled criminal empires and disappeared after a deadly operation went wrong. The groceries, the cake, were more than they seemed. They were breadcrumbs that pulled him from the shadows and into a dangerous light. Emma's father's face hardened with concern. Bringing this to our doorstep. What if someone is following him? What if we're in danger? The agent nodded slowly, acknowledging the risk, and reassured them they were here to protect Emma and her family. The weight of this secret pressed down on Emma's shoulders, her world shifting from ordinary teenage worries to the edges of a vast, unseen conflict. The night closed in, full of unknowns, and Emma stood frozen on her porch, caught between a simple act of kindness and the extraordinary consequences it had unleashed. The revelation about the old man unsettled Emma in ways she hadn't anticipated. All day, she had seen him simply as a frail, tired figure trying to manage his groceries with trembling hands, a humble cake tucked under his arm, a small gesture for a quiet birthday, she thought. But now, the truth unveiled by Agent Rhodes shattered the simplicity of that image and replaced it with shadows of danger and mystery. Emma sat in the living room, the glow of the overhead light casting long shadows across the walls. Her family gathered around her in a hushed circle of disbelief. Agent Rhodes' voice was calm but heavy with significance as he told the story of Thomas Calloway, once a legendary intelligence operative, a man whose name was whispered in secret circles for his unparalleled skill in dismantling dangerous criminal networks and foiling covert threats. They believed he had died years ago in a mission gone catastrophically wrong, a casualty buried beneath layers of classified silence. Emma's mother clutched her hands tightly, the story stirring a storm of emotions. Fear, pride, confusion. Why had he resurfaced now? Why at a grocery store, buying simple items like soup and bread? The agent explained that Emma's small act of kindness had unexpectedly forced Calloway's hand. His careful disappearance was compromised by the traces he left, the security footage, the card swipe at the register, breadcrumbs that intelligence agencies had been chasing for years but never quite caught. Emma's help had unknowingly lit a beacon, pulling him out of the shadows. The room felt thick with tension, the air heavy as Emma's father paced, wrestling with the dangers that now surrounded his family. What had seemed like a random encounter was now a thread in a larger tapestry of espionage and hidden threats. The quiet old man, who had seemed so vulnerable, was in fact a man hunted and haunted by a past filled with danger and sacrifice. Emma's thoughts swirled as she tried to reconcile the kind, gentle figure she had helped with the legend of a spy who had lived on the edge of death and secrecy. The fragile smile he had given her, the soft "thank you" whispered in the rain. They were now pieces of a puzzle far greater than she could have imagined. And in that moment, Emma understood that her simple act of kindness had drawn her into a story much bigger than her own life, one where courage, trust, and danger intertwined in the most unexpected ways. The weight of the situation settled heavily on Emma's shoulders as Agent Rhodes unfolded the next part of the story, a request that transformed her from an innocent bystander into a key player in a game far beyond her years. The room, once filled with disbelief and questions, now brimmed with a charged silence as the agent spoke with measured gravity. Emma's heart pounded as she absorbed the reality. The man she had helped was not only alive but reaching out in a way that demanded her involvement. The small, almost invisible note hidden inside the birthday cake box, a quiet message from Thomas Calloway himself, was more than a simple thank you. It was a plea for trust, a sign that he saw in Emma something rare and vital, a reason to come out of hiding. The note read, "She reminded me why I stayed hidden, but also why I might return." The agent's gaze locked with Emma's, conveying the seriousness of what lay ahead. Calloway's past was tangled with threats and enemies that still lurked unseen, and his return could tip the balance in a shadow war fought far from the public eye. Now, Emma was being asked to stand at the crossroads between danger and hope, between silence and action. Her family watched her with a mixture of worry and pride. Her father's protective stance softened as he realized the truth. Emma was not just a teenage girl caught in extraordinary circumstances, but someone chosen for a mission born from compassion and courage. Her mother's eyes glistened with unshed tears, recognizing the enormity of what Emma was facing. The responsibility was daunting, but beneath the fear, a fierce determination ignited within Emma. This was no longer just about an old man or a random act of kindness. It was about justice, loyalty, and the chance to change the course of hidden battles that shaped the world. The quiet courage she had shown at the grocery store was now the foundation of a journey that demanded more than she ever imagined she could give. As the agents laid out plans for protection and surveillance, Emma felt the fragile boundary between her ordinary life and this new reality blur. She was no longer just a girl who paid for groceries. She was a guardian of secrets, a beacon of hope in a silent war. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with danger and sacrifice, but Emma knew deep inside that she could not turn away. She had been called, and she would answer, with every ounce of strength her heart could muster.